Thank you, David. It's great to be here. I have had an affection for rivers ever since I was a boy, and I'm sure that's something perhaps many of you here can appreciate. There has just always been something about moving water that's drawn me. As a youngster, I was also captivated by Mark Twain, who once said, "You feel mighty free and easy on a raft." Well, I literally took that to heart. And by my teens, I had become an avid paddler and rafter. And the advent of the inflatable raft when I was a boy was certainly helpful in that regard. And I know by saying that, I'm showing my age. So before I knew it, I got into traveling by raft in a big way. Something I still do, and I continue to flip my raft on occasion. But I have to say, traveling by river is a great way to see a country and its people as they really are. And that applies to our country, Canada, as well. Now, while I had a preoccupation with whitewater in those very early years, I soon started to look at rivers in a much broader way. And the more time that I spent on rivers, the more I came to appreciate the immense values that they have from a natural, a cultural, and a recreational perspective. Rivers also played a key role in our past, in that historic settlement patterns for both Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal people usually took place along rivers. And that in turn has influenced how we think about things like wilderness, water, and salmon. I also believe that rivers contribute greatly to the quality of life that all of us in this room enjoy. In that virtually every community in our province has a nearby stream that local residents walk along, daydream beside, paddle, fish, or swim in. Now, as many of you know, we celebrated World Rivers Day not too long ago. And that's an event that actually started here with the cleanup on the Thompson River way back in 1980, where we took a flotilla of rafts and 40 people down this great stretch of river. We picked up literally tons of debris. It was a great event, a great success. So we got together that night in Lytton and we said, hey, let's do this again. So the next year we planned a few more events, and then a few more the year after that. And before we knew it, it took on a life of its own and just reaffirmed in my own heart that rivers are near and dear to the hearts of all British Columbians. But before we knew it anyway, this event, Rivers Day, took on a life of its own, and we started to see more than 100 events taking place in our province, involving 75,000 and more British Columbians. Then 6 years ago, we approached the United Nations about establishing World Rivers Day. And we got a positive response, and the event has since taken off globally, to the point where this year we had 60 plus countries involved and literally millions of participants. And to see an international celebration like this, and to know it has its genesis, its origins, right here in British Columbia, I think is pretty neat. Now, I think Rivers Day has lots of spin-offs. Certainly it helps to increase public awareness about the many values of our waterways. But I think it also strives and succeeds in creating a greater understanding of the many pressures and threats that confront our rivers. Things like pollution, urbanization, the excessive extraction of water, and the building of dams. Just as importantly, I think this event also encourages people to become more active as river stewards and river advocates. Now, in terms of the current state of our rivers today, I have to say it's very much a mixed blessing. On the positive side, we have made some progress on some fronts. As examples, Fraser River water quality today is probably a bit better than it was a couple of decades ago due to new regulations on things like pulp mill effluent. We've also seen a dramatic increase in the number of streamkeeper groups over the years. That too has been great to see. We have managed to protect at least some key rivers and habitats. And we've seen some great stream restoration efforts unfold. Gishon Creek in Burnaby behind BCIT, where I live and work, is just one of many examples in the Lower Mainland. Yet, there is still much to do, and many of our rivers remain under the gun. And it's for that reason that we still produce an annual Endangered Rivers list in our province. And this year, rivers highlighted on that list included the Kettle River in the interior, which suffers from excessive water extraction. And then to the north, one of my favorite places, the Sacred Headwaters, an area that harbors the headwaters of the Nass, the Stikine, and the Skeena rivers, all just a stone's throw apart. So this area is the source of 3 of our greatest salmon rivers, a special place that in the view of many who know it, should be protected. And yet coal bed methane development is being contemplated on this same site, something I hope does not come to pass. And then there's the heart of the Fraser, located between Hope and Mission and one of the most productive stretches of river anywhere in the world. An amazing area, and it's right in our own backyard. This part of the Fraser, for those of you that don't know it, or for those of you that have been there, this part of the Fraser supports almost 30 species of fish. It sustains our largest single spawning run of salmon in this province. Largest single spawning run, and that's the 20 million pink salmon that spawned there last fall. And it supports Canada's largest white sturgeon population. It's also a migration corridor for millions of fish. It is a magical place. Yet given its proximity to Greater Vancouver, as you might expect, it faces immense pressures relating to things like urbanization and industrial development and agricultural expansion. So looking at that and trying to figure out a way to resolve that, first, I think there's an urgent need to try and acquire key private properties for conservation purposes. And groups like the Nature Trust of British Columbia, along with help from the North Growth Foundation and others, is doing some great work in that regard. In addition to that, we also have to push for a collaborative plan that will protect important habitats on Crown land. And we have to continue to increase awareness about the importance of this amazing stretch. So when you look at this area's great values combined with the pressures that exist, I think the heart of the Fraser is one of our country's most important conservation initiatives, conservation campaigns. In summary, the Fraser remains the heart and soul of our province, and our rivers in general truly are the arteries of our planet. But clearly, we have to do more in terms of safeguarding those waterways that remain in good shape, while trying to restore and clean up and repair those that have been damaged in past. And just on a closing note, I have to say it has been wonderful to see such a tremendous sockeye return this year. And having 30 million sockeye in the Fraser got a lot of people excited and engaged, which was so great to see. I was up in the Adams River a couple of weeks ago, and people from around the world had come to see this amazing natural spectacle. So my hope is that this year will act as a building block. Given this great bounty that we've seen, my hope is that this year will act as a building block, not only for sockeye, but also for other species that are struggling, such as coho, chinook, and steelhead. It's also important to note, and I want to highlight this as well, that we are not out of the woods yet in terms of solidifying the future of salmon in our province, in that we need a few good years in a row to get us back on a solid footing. Without question, though, this year's return is a sign of hope, that it's not too late, and that yes, we can still turn things around. But if we are to achieve that, maintaining a healthy marine environment is certainly part of the equation. But so too is the maintenance of healthy, productive rivers. Bottom line, we live in a great province, and as you might expect, I believe our rivers are one of the reasons why. Thanks very much.